Great. Thank you everyone for joining this week's Grow Money Trading Analysis session. As per our usual pattern, we'll go with the major indexes analysis first, the US indexes and Canadian index, and we'll take the stock and ETF request from the GMT community members and those who are on call. So we'll start off first with Dow Jones DJI index, and what I have in the screen is on the left hand side is the daily chart of DJI, and on right is the weekly chart. For those who were on last week's session and potentially watched our sessions recording, we had mentioned that the last week was sell on rise market, and exactly that's what happened. The week started with a bullish day, and then market took the bearish trend as was expected on the weekly chart. So what we see as of now on the daily chart, based on the last session's closing, is that market tried to pull pull back up. The candle that we have on the daily chart, um, it shows there is a downward price rejection, or market is trying to take support at this level and trying to move up. If we look on the weekly chart, however, the weekly chart has a candlesticks pattern which we call it as gravestone doji, almost a gravestone doji, which has a long wick at the top and its body at the bottom. So weekly candle is still indicating that there's still downward trend expected. The indicator RSI and Williams they are opposite. RSI is showing a short-term uptrend, but Williams R is still close to what we call it as overbought zone, which means there's further correction or downtrend expected on the weekly chart. From the daily chart, based on last day's closing, we can expect some upward move at the start of the week. However, because the weekly trend is still downward, the overall week can be expected to close towards a weaker side. If we look at other indexes, moving on to NDX, Nasdaq 100 index, the last session's candle shows a bullish move. Towards the closing, there was some profit booking, but still, in terms of the indicators, RSI, Williams R, they are indicating that at the start of week, we can expect a bullish move. From the current level of 25,000, you should be watching 25,358 and 25,450 for the market, whether it takes resistance at those levels and starts consolidating, or it breaks further up. If you look on the weekly chart, and for those who are identifying the candles, if you look at the last two candles, the candles are still indicating weakness or bearish trend. The indicators have still not gone down until the oversold region, which is typically the region from where we can expect market to move up. So on the daily side, it's a short term upward move. However, the overall weekly trend is still bearish, and you can expect even tech stocks to have some correction. Uh, Continue with the correction that we have seen in the last 2 weeks. For nasdaq 100, on the weekly chart, for it to take support, there's a mid Bollinger Band level here at 24,020. So close to 1,000 points it could correct, and that could form a comparatively strong support for market to take some pullback upward. So if you are holding tech stocks and you are in profit, look for these levels to book your profit. If you recently entered into some stocks or even on the last session, look for 25,400 or 25,450 for booking your profits. So nasdaq 100 trend would be visible on those who are trading QQQ ETF or TQQ, which is the leverage ETF following QQQ. If we look at SPX index, and I know few members trade with SPX and its associated ETF SPY. Similar to what we see on Nasdaq 100, market took the support on the lower Bollinger Band on the last session, and it gave a bullish move. However, towards the closing, you can see there was an upward price rejection as it almost reached the mid Bollinger Band level here at 67,075, and there was profit booking towards the close, which means the institutions brought its price down and it closed almost at the same level where it had closed on Thursday. And because of this price rejection towards the close, the indicators have not turned up, have flattened, and almost it's still slightly on the downward side. Even on the daily chart, even though it was a bullish day, but because of this selling towards the close or profit booking towards the close, the indicators have not turned up on the daily chart. On the weekly chart, it has still formed the red candle, and this last candle, what we say, is typically a confused candle or a doji candle. And with this closing, the market could go either ways. However, with red body, it indicates that a further bearish move can be anticipated, which is confirmed by this Williams R indicator, which is still close to the overbought region and is downward. So looking at SPX as well, early at the start of the week, we can expect similar opening what we saw in the last week, that there could be a bullish move. However, the market could either trade sideways or likely downwards in the coming week as well. So the weakness in the market is indicated by the candle patterns as well as the indicators that we are seeing on the chart. Any questions from anyone? for either of these major indexes? Okay. So if there are no questions, then we'll move on to the Canadian index, TSX composite index. On the TSX, slightly different from what we see on SPX or NASDAQ. TSX had a bullish move and then a correction on Thursday. However, Friday's session, it made a green candle indicating a bullish move. It had a downward price rejection. So for TSX stocks, we can still expect it to go further up. It closed at 30,326, and the level to watch would be 30,680. So another about 350 points, it could go further up. This sell off that it happened on Thursday was based on its overbought region, and that's why market brought its price down. And the move on last session, it still indicates that there is further bullish sentiment in the market, which could take its price up. If you're on TSX stocks or Canadian stocks for long term position, it's still fine to hold. But if you're on a swing trade or a short term position, because the US market trend is more of bearish, it would be good to hold your positions in smaller quantities, because the US market's trend typically does impact Canadian market's trend as well. So this was daily. Let's see on weekly. And on weekly, from past almost 5 weeks, it has been facing resistance at this level. And in the last week, with low volume, it has closed at the same level but with a very low volume. So the point that I was saying about the US market trend having an impact, you can see in terms of the volume of trade that has happened in the last week. Although the TSX is still bullish, but the number of buyers are comparatively less. If you are holding some of the banking stocks or gold stocks, and looking for target levels, the level that we discuss on the daily chart, 30,600, and if it goes further up, then 31,140 would be the levels that you should be watching for. Regardless, because of the low volume, if you are in profit, it would be good to book profit for your 60 to 75% of your positions, so you can at least realize the profits on your positions that you might have taken earlier this year. All right, any questions so far? Feel free to unmute and ask or comment if you have anything to speak.
So, Kamal, the basic idea is to liquidate, right? In the sense of sell off the positions because overall US is negative. to at least have that cash ready by selling the in-profit positions, right? Even for Canadian stocks.
Sorry, Rohan, I can barely
Sorry, I'm
understand your.
outside. Maybe maybe I'll message. Sorry, I'm outside right now. I'll send it in the chat.
Okay, yeah, sure. Thanks. So I heard partially. So if your question was about uh, booking profits and being on the cash, uh, in in terms of the weekly trend, because the market is appearing weaker, if you are in profits from your positions, it's good to book your profits at the resistance levels that we saw on nasdaq 100 or spx. If your position is slightly red, you can try to close your positions at the break even or small profits and be on cash. So it's okay to be on cash in this kind of market wherein the weekly sentiment is confused. When it has correction, you will get chance to enter at a better price. If it goes further up and uh, market continues with the bull trend that it has had since April, it's it's okay to enter after the confirmation and a breakout. But for
Okay.
now, yeah, for now it's more safer to book your profits or come out of existing positions at break even or small profits.
Okay, Kamal. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, so we will now go to the next part of our session wherein we take requests from our GMT members and members on the call. There are few who have already requested in the chat, and I'll start off with request from Abbas. He has requested for FBL, GPUS, and XRT. So I'll take his request first. And for those who are on call, please add your stock request in the chat so we can take one by one. And we'll try to take 1 to 2 stock requests from each of you at max. Okay, so we'll start off with FBL. FBL is a leverage ETF for FB or Meta. And when we look at its pattern on the weekly chart first, um, after earnings, it had a huge drop. And since then, market has tried to take its price up, but overall, it has been on the downtrend. Lower Bollinger Band and mid Bollinger Band is still downward, indicating that um, the downward trend is still more significant, or bears in the market are more prominent. On the weekly chart, it has 200 EMA at 24, which would be a strong support. And on a daily chart, lower Bollinger Band is at 2365. If either coming week or next week is bearish, it could touch those levels. And at the start of this week, if with the small bullish move, if it breaks this 10 this 5 EMA resistance, then the next level where you could try to exit some of your positions if you are already on it would be 31, and the second target would be close to $34. uh, on the downward side, because it has lower Bollinger Band still downward, the stop loss from the current price, the last session has made a low 27.49. So the low of the last session, or few cents lower, 27.40 could be your stop loss, just to avoid its further $4 downward trend. Because it is in oversold region, so some buyers coming is highly probable for a short term upward move. However, the weekly trend is weak, so in about 2 weeks or further uh, time hold could result in further loss or negative in this ETF. The RSI is in the oversold region, however, it's still downward. And if we look before, so typically it reverses at similar RSI levels. And if we trace back in April, it is almost at those levels. So if you are currently holding it, I would say for FBL, watch how it trades for first 2 days of this week uh, before planning to close the position, because it is in oversold and it's an ETF for Meta. There could be some buyers coming in even before it uh, touches these lower levels. However, if the overall market is bearish, then it could take its price further down. So for now, you can hold with a stop loss at 27.40 or even lower, few cents lower, and give it a chance to see if it moves further up.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Right, GPUS. Okay, because it's a penny stock, so we'll have to analyze on a shorter time frame. Okay, so it has been in the downtrend, uh, obviously because of the market trend, and the indicators here are still downward, because on the hourly chart it has touched the lower Bollinger Band. On the weekly chart also it has touched the lower Bollinger Band, uh, and it has a strong support at 25.75. So around 26 cent it has a strong support. um, so because we are looking on 4-hour and 1-hour chart, so these indicators would um, move based on it, the trading in the pre-market on uh, tomorrow's pre-market, or even in the aftermarket. So 1-hour chart may change by the time market opens tomorrow. However, for the trend, we can still expect it to take support near 26 cent, 25.75. And because it has earnings this week, although it's not showing here, since it has had a drop and is in the oversold region, upon earnings, uh, it could go up. So with the current levels, if you are holding, it's still okay to hold. But if you would like to enter, you can enter around 26 cent for the first small target of 31 cent, second target around 37 cent. And if the company has a positive news during the earnings release, the next target to look for would be 45 cent. Because on the weekly chart, it's on the daily and weekly chart, it has a skewed view. Let me just expand for the higher targets. Yeah. Okay. So just based on the candle that it has formed, you can expect that it could open lower, but it is in the oversold region, so the buyers would come in. That's why it's still okay to hold or enter at around 26 cents. um, for those who would be day trading, the first target could be 31 cent, and the next target for swing trade would be, we saw 35 cent here, but the mid Bollinger Band here is 38 cent. But if you would like to be conservative, you could aim for 37 cent, and we saw 45 cent as well on the 4-hour chart, which could be good target for closing at up close to 30-40% from the current price. But because it's a penny stock, the move could be fast, and upon earnings, the move could be in the aftermarket hours or pre-market hours. So please keep your order limits in the system. So whenever it hits those levels, your order executes.
When is
And
the
even if
earnings, Kamal?
I think on 17th, which is tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
No problem. So um, if the news is positive, it could happen in the aftermarket hours itself, or even if it happens in the next day pre-market. It's better to keep your overnight order limits in the system, so your order executes.
So Kamal, currently I am holding this stock for like 40 cents. So do you think like we should average it out now, or like just continue with the 40 cents and not touch it?
Uh, for 47 cent, you could add some position at 26 cent, and that would help to come in profit sooner.
Okay.
So yeah, for 47 cent with the current levels,
No, it's not 47, it's 40.
40. Okay, yeah, 40, because mid Bollinger Band is 38. With the current levels, it's still okay to add some positions if you have cash in your portfolio. Okay. Next, we have XRPT, which is an ETF following XRP, which is a crypto. Okay. XRPT, it had a gap up, and then it has faced resistance at the upper Bollinger Band level. And let's see, this is 1-hour chart, but we'll see it on a longer time frame because it's an ETF. We should have further levels. Okay, so last week on Monday, it had a good move, and then the market trend impacted overall um, other cryptos as well, and that is the trend that XRPT has also followed. If you look on the daily chart, the last candle shows that it will go further down. The weekly chart, it shows further downtrend. So from the last closing at 832, uh, I haven't seen how at what price XRP is trading now, but based on the candlesticks patterns and the indicators, it shows that um, it can drop further. And the low it had made at 745 is the level that's showing on the weekly chart as well as the support on the daily chart. So another 80-85 cent drop can be expected for XRPT based on the patterns that we see here. If I recall, you had your average price around 12 or 13. Is that right, Bas? If you're okay.
Yeah, around that.
Yeah. So it would be a hold as of now, because
Mhm.
the current trend is still downward.
Okay.
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 Yeah.
Thank you.
And just keep an eye that at around 7:45 or 7:50, if it
Mhm.
takes reversal,
Mhm.
um, I'll also keep an eye. If it reverses, then uh, depending upon how strong is the reversal volume and the market trend,
Right.
you might, if the market trend is favorable and volume is higher, then you could consider to add some portions. But as of now, just hold,
Okay.
um, without considering to average down, because the trend is downward.
Okay. Thanks. Thanks, Kamal.
No problem. Okay, so next we'll go to Vivek's request for Tesla and its ETF YTSL. Okay, so starting from weekly chart, it has had two red candles similar to the overall NDX pattern. But if you look on the indicators, it's steep downward trend. The last session's move on the daily chart has shown a reversal for daily pattern. Both RSI and Williams R were in oversold, and the bullish move on Friday has given a reversal, which is a short term upward move, which could continue early in the week. One positive thing for Tesla is that it had almost touched the mid Bollinger Band level or the support here, so which gave a good volume of buyers. So from its current level, watch for 429, 428, 429 as the resistance, as the first resistance, 435, and then 440 would be strong resistance for booking your profits, or if you are already holding it, to consider to liquidate your 60 to 75% of your positions.
Okay, man. And
Okay.
YTSL.
Yeah, sure. It's YTSL. Is it on Neo?
Yes, man.
Okay, so we'll have to take it on Trading View. And while it's loading, those who are holding TSLL, let's quickly check TSLL as well, which is the leverage ETF for Tesla. And for TSLL levels, because it crossed the 200 EMA on the upward side, it's, uh, it's good to average down if you are holding it, or if you would like to enter at the start of the week for the first target at 17 or even 18, 20, and second target of 19, with plan to exit from your positions at around $20. The resistance here is at $20.22, but if you are holding in larger quantity, look for target close to $20. So this could be for your existing positions, or if you have entered on the last session or would want to enter at either
Now,
in the market that opens today or in pre-market tomorrow. Somebody had some comment, or Vivek, you're saying
yes, man.
something?
Like I entered last week only, so I think like I might exit this week. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you entered on Friday, you could look for 18, 19, or even 20 for small portion of your position. Just TSL. Yeah. So for YTSL, close at 23.54. Look for $25 and 25.50. That's the second target, and third target would be 26. Okay, because I'm still expecting the overall bearish market to have an impact. That's why I'm not suggesting for looking at higher targets at this point.
Thank you, Kamal.
Yeah. Did somebody else had some comment or a question? Oh, great. Awesome. So we'll continue further ahead. Afif has requested for Tesla, which we have covered, and he has asked for HUT on TSX. HUT is, I think, also on NASDAQ as well. So I'll first cover NASDAQ and then uh, discuss the levels on TSX. HUT is similar to what we see in the overall market, and for Tesla, weekly is bearish. The indicators are downward with the last session's move on the daily chart. Because it was in the oversold, some buyers have come in. However, towards the close, institutions have brought its price down and it closed at lower Bollinger Band. Based on the daily chart, you can still expect it to go further up. So the levels that you should be watching would be close to 4090 and 4440, and max target of 46. Because the overall market trend is bearish, so would be good to exit majority of your positions around these levels if you are in profit or break even. And if we talk in the TSX levels, this one is TSX. So pattern would be the
So,
same in just in terms of levels. Yes, Afif.
so just had a question. So, is it good to enter right now, when the market opens for short-term
Uh,
position?
yeah, for short term, it's similar to TSLL.
Okay.
If you want to enter a fresh position, I would choose TSLL compared to this, because it's a crypto mining stock. So crypto trend would have bigger impact, whereas Tesla could go up with Elon Musk tweet, even if
Oh,
whole market is going down. So you have a higher probability of closing in profit with Tesla. Or
okay, okay.
yeah, even if it goes down, you could hold for some time and you would be able to come out in profit. Okay, but for HUT, comparatively, risk is higher.
I
Okay,
see.
because the pattern formed is almost similar. um, I would suggest to go for Tesla, which has higher probability of you coming out in profit. and lesser loss.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So Lubna has requested AREB. Okay. Again, because it's a penny stock, so we'll look at it on a smaller time frame. Let's see this on 2 hour chart. Okay, so it has taken support at close to 1.07. Its last candle on the 4 hour chart. The 4 hour chart is showing that it has a bullish sentiment, and you can expect its price to go up. It's a dragonfly doji. On 2 hour chart as well, it has a dragonfly doji, although it closed at the same levels. So from these levels, it's expected to go further up. The upper Bollinger Band is at 119 on 4 hour chart. Mid Bollinger Band is at 119. And if it goes further up from those levels, there's a resistance at 125 and 128. Lubna, what's your average price, or are you planning to enter?
सो अरे मैंने लिया था 1.75 पे ना, वो पड़ा हुआ
Okay.
है अभी मेरे पास ना पहले का। अब उसको क्या करना है? 60, मुझे याद है जब हमने लिया था तो ये था कि 16 17 17 18 तक हमें एग्जिट करना है इससे, है ना? तो अब ये तो
Yes.
काफी नीचे है। शुड आई क्लोज इट, शुड आई एवरेज इट, और शुड आई वेट?
Yeah. So based on its smaller interval pattern, you
हाँ,
can hold it for target to
आवाज
be.
नहीं आ रही,
Uh, I'm
आवाज
saying
चली
you
गई।
can hold it. Can you hear me?
नो, आवाज पता नहीं कहाँ चली गई, अभी तो आ रही थी ठीक।
Can others hear me?
Yes, Kamal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Kamal,
we
you're
can
okay.
hear you. Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So I'll continue. Maybe Lubna, you can
हम्म,
see if you can hear later or catch in the recording.
ठीक है।
So from current levels, you can hold it, because the shorter time frame is showing it can go up. If you want to close your position with uh, smaller loss, you can look for 125, or the mid Bollinger Band here on the daily chart is at 158, and this level can act as a resistance. So instead of targeting 158, you can try to exit around 150. Yeah, weekly
ओके,
you have to. Okay, so loss में close करना होगा, but you can reduce the loss by closing around 150.
हाँ हाँ
And if the volume is high,
हाँ
and if that move from $1.20 to 150 happens in the aftermarket,
हाँ,
you could keep a limit order few cents higher than your average price, because sometimes with one spike, uh, it could hit your target price as it could hit your uh, price limit price as well, and
ओके,
you might exit in break even. Okay, if the market trend would have been bullish, uh, I could have suggested to hold, because the upper Bollinger Band on daily chart is close to 2.4. Because the market trend is doji, it's okay to exit at smaller loss and be on cash. So in the next trade, you can recoup that loss. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. So we'll take MSTR and AMTSTR. Let's see on weekly chart first. MSTR, it has been on a long downtrend, and the overall market trend has also added to its downward move. However, there's a 200 EMA at 194 at this level, uh, rather at actually 185, and it made a low of 194.50. So it's very close to the strong support level on a weekly chart. So if it gives reversal from the current levels, which is an oversold level both on weekly as well as daily chart, it's a uh, it's a level for entering into this stock, this instrument or stock. If you are already holding at higher prices, you could look for averaging down around 185, which is 200 EMA, which would act as a strong support. Because MSTR have heavy investments in Bitcoin, so just keep an eye on Bitcoin trend. And I see Mohit has requested Bitcoin, so we will analyze that as well. And based on Bitcoin's trend, you could plan to add to your positions, or open a new position in MSTR. If you're going to add to a new position, instead of MSTR, I would suggest its corresponding ETF. Again, it has been following MSTR's trend. Our MSTY, because it is a high yield ETF which takes advantage of the covered calls and option strategies, it has a very high dividend yield. So for those who want to hold it or longer, over 1 year time, the ETF value might reduce, but the dividend it would give would help you get better return. And the ETF price is also lower. However, it has higher NAV, which means the ETF price goes lower faster than the underlying asset. So when MSTR starts going up, MSTY may not go up that fast, but the dividend yield, because it's a weekly dividend, you would get that as a profit. So your position might appear negative, but the dividend yield would be your profit, and you could plan to reinvest those dividends in increasing your position as well. Okay. So for MSTY, looking at the weekly chart, the 200 EMA, it has actually touched that level. So as a fresh buyer, it, from the technicals point of view, it looks good to enter into this, even though it has not given reversal yet on the weekly chart. on the daily chart, because it formed a doji Williams R, which gives early reversal, it has given a buy from the move that it made on Friday. So if you want to open a new position, this looks good from the current chart pattern as well as the indicators point of view. Okay, Lubna, can you hear us? All right, so we'll continue. Last, we'll quickly take AMD before we go to BTC. AMD, okay. AMD, last week's candle was heavily bearish, but this week, last week candle was heavily bearish, but last week's candle, it shows a bullish body, but still an upward price rejection, which indicates you can still expect its price to go further down. If it continues with the correction, the levels to look for would be 215, which could act as a weak support, I would say, because there is a gap here, and if it breaks that support, it will close this gap, and the level to look for would be 180. It's still in the overbought region, so if not early this week, you can expect correction to happen in coming weeks for AMD. The daily pattern is slightly confusing because of doji. So even if it goes up, the upside is smaller. Can look at around 260 levels for booking your profit if you are already on the position. If you want to open, wait for at least this level of 180 to 180 would be a good support to enter when it tries to close this gap. So it should be in the watch list for now. Okay, we'll now move on to BTC. Yeah, coin we will take this one. It should be. Let me see if it loads. All right. Okay. Yeah. So I had not seen XRP, but looking at Bitcoin's pattern, most likely XRP might be down as well, which means you can expect XRP price to open lower as well. For BTC, it has had a gap down opening on a weekly chart, which is not a positive sign. And if we see on the daily chart, it's closing on the lower Bollinger Band on a weekly chart. Sorry, because the color is yellow, so you might not be seeing. Let me change this color quickly. We'll make it red so you can see it clear. Green. Yeah, it's under the lower Bollinger Band, and the next support to look for, and this we are looking in USD. It's currently at 94. For opening a new position, if you are looking at the support, and on the weekly basis, the next support level would be around 86K. So another 8K but because this is on the weekly, it could take more than a week to reach those levels. On the daily chart, because it's already going in the oversold region, both on weekly and daily, and today it's down 1.5%. So if the drop continues, tomorrow you can expect it on a 4-hour time frame, 93k, 93, 92, 957 is what it is showing on the lower Bollinger Band, but you can expect 93k to be the level where some buyers should come in. With the candle that it has formed now, you can expect on 4-hour time frame for it to drop further. Even on 1-hour chart, it is showing some buyers are coming in, but watch for its reversal close to 93k on a daily time frame for a short term trade, because the overall weekly trend is still negative. If you enter around 93k, the first target to look for would be 97k, then 99,500, and it could face a strong resistance close to 101k. The mid Bollinger Band is still downward, and it could come up to this resistance level of 101 or 102k, which could act as a strong resistance. If it breaks that resistance, then the next level to look for would be 107. Over on the weekly chart, yeah, those levels as of now would be difficult to reach unless there is some big buyer coming in. So for BTC, watch for 93k for a short term trade for a target of 96 and 99k or 102. That could be target 3. Then wait for it to drop to 85k on a weekly basis, which could take a few weeks to reach. And many times the US market trend does have an impact. So if towards the end of this week or next week, if US indexes have a bearish move, this about 9k of drop could happen very easily on BTC. Okay. All right. So if you had asked about HUT, wait for confirmation until end of tomorrow for the reversal. If Bitcoin reverses, then you can plan to add to your positions. If you are still thinking about HUT to enter, although TSLL would be more safer. All right, so we will take. There are 3 more requests. Afif has added CLS and CCO. Celestica. On the weekly chart, it's the downtrend. On the daily chart, it has had a good bullish move with considerable volume. The reversals indicators have shown upward move because it has made an almost green Marubazu candle. You can easily expect it to go higher than its closing price 310, and you can see in the aftermarket it has reached 314. and 314 is the mid Bollinger Band level. So 314 is the first target, and the next target is close to this resistance around 327. So there's a strong resistance around 327, 330 rather. That could be your target price too. But because the overall market is bearish, at this point I would not suggest to wait for target price 3, which is close to the high. So if you want to book some of your positions on Monday towards the close, if it is around 314, 315, which is the mid Bollinger Band level, that could be your TP1, and TP2 at around 330, which was a resistance here. And then wait for correction to happen. For entering into it, there's a strong support at 251 or 252. Watch for that strong support. If it goes further down than the mid Bollinger Band level and this EMA at 233, then further at 20, or in fact this one would be a strong support at 186, which it could take few weeks to over a month for this level to reach, but that could be the level for buying it and holding for longer term. But for now, the quick trade is to book your profit towards end of tomorrow, and keep some quantity for second target and then wait for correction. And the last one is CCO. Oh, it's a CCO he has requested. Okay. Although for CLS, I have mentioned the level on US index. Just quickly, if I were to talk the TSX levels, 440 and 464 or 465 could be the targets that you should look for. And then for CCO, Cameo, after its gap up, it is going through correction. And although it has formed a green candle, but the mid Bollinger Band is at 113, and a strong support would be close to 103. So you could look for re-entry at 104. From its current trend, mid Bollinger Band, lower Bollinger Band is still downward, and it tried to take a support at this level at around 114. However, further downtrend can still be expected, and this would be much stronger support close to 109. So wait for it. As of now, just keep it in watch list before entering, as it's expected to go down further, which is in line with the market trend that we have analyzed through the indices. All right, so similar to Nasdaq 100 and QQQI, which is again high income ETF. It gives over 13% in the dividends. So for those who are holding it in TFSA or RRSP accounts, and would like to know if you should exit from the current levels, It almost touched the resistance here at 54 in the last session. 54.50 was the resistance. It touched 54.43. So in the coming session, it on Monday it could touch the 54.50 level, and 54.86 or 55 should be the resistance that you should watch. And if it goes further up, 55.30 would be the resistance that you should watch for closing your position. Even if you have, and if you are holding this for um, longer term, you could exit again 60 to 70% of your positions to have some cash, so that when it corrects, you can buy it at further lower price. From the weekly trend, there's a support here at close to $52, and if it corrects further for longer term hold, a buy near 49 would be a good price. It has a strong support at $49. um, at that price you could use the cash that you could have got by selling at these levels to add to your positions, or you could also increase your positions at around 49. But because this is weekly trend, it could take um, more than a month to reach these levels, depending upon how strong is the market uh, bearish move. So by next week, we will be able to see whether this resistance that we are seeing here at 55, the market faces strong resistance and goes further down. If it breaks this resistance, then the market could continue further up. The bullish trend that it had, it could uh, take this bullish trend further up. But as of now, the patterns that we are seeing on the chart, it favors more of the bearish move. There's a resistance here. There's upper Bollinger Band has curved, almost flattened. The EMAs are down. The indicators are downward. So it's from the technicals based on the chart. It gives an impression of a more of a bearish move expected on a weekly basis. That's why it's safer to book profits and be on a cash rather than losing some of the profits that you might have had for this. Okay. All right. So I think I have covered the request in the chat. Any questions from anyone or any last request for the day?
Hi, Kamal. Can you check Palantir?
Sure. It's a dear
PLTI.
stock for many and is being discussed a lot in some of the business channels that you might be following. So Palantir, after its earnings, it has had a gap down and has been in the downtrend. It was at the lower Bollinger Band, where some buyers have come in on the last session, which has caused indicators to move up on the daily chart. And again, similar to what we saw for SPX and Nasdaq 100, you can expect at the start of the week for it to go further up, and watch for the resistance levels 179, 180. Although this is showing at 185, but I would suggest to look for target at around 184 or 185 for booking your profit if you have entered here, because the weekly chart is still bearish. Its RSI and Williams R is midway, So if it goes up, you might see a little reversal up, but it's still at a level where market could take it either ways. And it's because of the market sentiment, it's better to be more on a bearish side and not open a new position.
Thank you, Kamal.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. All right, anything else?
Thank you so much, Kamal bhai.
Okay, all right, yeah, you're welcome. And so with that, we will stop here. Thank you all for joining, and hope this analysis helps in planning your trade in the coming week, and hope you all make some profits and also save your capital if the market goes down. So with that, thank you all. Have a good remaining part of Sunday, and see you all next week. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.